she's not guilty. And her eclectic group of experts are going to tell you exactly the reason why she's not. Karen Reed and her defense team have arguably put together one of the strongest group of experts that I personally have ever seen in a trial. It is this group of 12, if you already aren't questioning the reason why the Commonwealth would even bring Karen Reed to trial, because Karen Reed never killed John O'Keefe. First up is Chris Van E., a PhD who is a biomechanical engineer. He can testify upon the EDR system that's in Karen Reed's Lexus. Based off of trial 1 notes, he can testify on exactly the chronological data derived from the EDR, including key cycles and triggering events from the time period in question, i.e. key cycle 01162. I've been talking about that a lot lately. True story, ADA Laura McLaughlin, the one that you never hear from the Commonwealth, actually put in a motion last trial to exclude Chris Van E.'s testimony. Not because he was not relevant or unqualified, but because literally she didn't understand what he was going to testify on. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. Richard Green, the cell phone data expert.
Was it possible that the search for how long to die in the cold at 6:24 a.m. was the most recent search completed in the tab?
Oh, well, not in that tab, but I certainly agree with you that there was a second search done at around that time.
Now, is it also possible that the search that you assert took place at 2:27 and 40 seconds in the morning is the same as the search that took place at 6:24:51 a.m. for that same search?
Yeah, that's inconsistent with the actual data I'm seeing on this actual phone with this precise iOS version.
He's the one that used more tools than the Commonwealth's experts. The reason why Hank Brennan hired Aperture. The reason why Aperture changed their reports after Richard Green's report came out in March 2025. You know the whole spiel about the May 8th, 2025 reports that all of a sudden had a complete change in their testimonies. It was Richard Green's testing that showed John O'Keefe's phone was still moving as it last locked. We didn't hear that during trial 1. It was also Richard Green's new testing that showed Jen McCabe not only searched House Long to Die in Cold at 2:27 a.m., he was then able to break it down into milliseconds, literally pinpointing down exactly when Jen McCabe Google searched that. Fan favorite? ARCA.
Absolutely. And I will note, as part of the engagement with the entity that retained us, we were asked not to do any outside research or investigation of the case. It was to be based solely on the evidence that we were provided.
Okay. As a matter of fact, and importantly, while you were doing your testing, had you ever even heard of the Karen Reed case?
No.
Company that was hired by the feds to prove that John O'Keefe was not hit by Karen Reed's Lexus. If you're new here, it was the federal investigators that opened up their first initial investigation and hired ARCA. After trial 1, ARCA was released from their federal contract, which meant Karen Reed's defense team was able to hire them for their own testing. And more testing they did. As you can see, Dr. Rentschler and all of your favorites, Dr. Crash Daddy Wolf, are highly experienced in their fields. Dr. Wolf being on the vehicle engineering side, whereas Dr. Rentschler being on the body anatomy engineering side. Big snaps for Dr. Wolf because he took Hank Brennan's beating like a champ. That is when you know you have real experts on your side, because they can not only handle really tough voir dires questioning their expertise, but also intense cross-examination as well. Maggie Gaffney was one of Karen Reed's very first experts. She was present for the chip-off process that Trooper Guarino spoke about. Actually, it was Mr. I lie on my resume so everyone can think I'm an expert, Shannon Burgess from Aperture, that pulled out so many misogynistic statements about Maggie Gaffney, my head almost popped off. It was Mr. Burgess who claimed that Maggie Gaffney is the reason why there was so much misinformation out there about Karen Reed's infotainment data. And also, it was Maggie Gaffney who forgot because she didn't know what she was doing when it came to the SD card, and she was the reason why it was never pulled out. When in reality, it was because Trooper Guarino stated that Burla, which is the company that helps get all of this data, was behind on everything, so it would have been useless to grab this SD card. It was actually the Commonwealth's issue and Trooper Guarino. Derek Ellington is another forensics investigator, specifically for cell phones. He investigates fraud, a certified fraud investigator. Gee, I wonder what he's gonna testify about. Michael Easter is a geolocation expert, retired FBI, testified in probably hundreds of court cases. He also gets into the nitty-gritty when it comes to police fraud. One big issue with Michael Easter is that he's not gonna be able to testify because Bev won't allow it. The reason being, despite all of this man's background, his expertise, and all the testimony he's given over the years, Judge Cannoni specifically stated because there was no Massachusetts case, Massachusetts specific case, that is the reason why this man cannot testify for Karen Read's defense. He would have been the perfect expert to prove the Bowdoin defense that Karen Read's team is trying to put out there. Just show the lack of competency that happens between the Canton Police Department and Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, including the Norfolk County Judicial System, aka Bev's job. I wonder why she wouldn't allow Michael Easter to testify. Matthew Erickson, a video forensics expert. What's up, Canton PD Sally Port? The inverted video of it all. A little fun pre-trial fact about Matt Erickson. Karen Read's team flew him out to go to Canton PD to get all of the original metadata-filled video footage. And when he got there, Colleen Crawford from the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office told him that didn't exist anymore. Then magically, more footage was handed over to the defense like 2 months later. Due to this, Karen's team put in a motion being like, you wasted our time and you wasted our money. What are we doing with this? Literally, this was like a 6 or 7 month span of going back and forth with all this fucking nonsense. And of course, Bev Cannoni was like, yeah, no, you're paying that bill on your own. Still have yet to get all of that footage, by the way. Matthew DeSorga is...
What did you find in terms of, I want to narrow this question to January 29th, 2022. What did you find in terms of any data regarding a collision?
Neither of the events that occurred on that date were triggered by a collision.
Thank you.
We will see him testify on the Lexus data and the accident reconstruction. What makes him different is that he specializes in recovery and analysis of data from damaged EDRs. Yes, I said damaged. What's most important is that I found an old interview of his where he noted that EDR triggers are not solely to be relied upon for accident reconstruction. Cough, cough, aperture, cough.
If you were told that there was another interaction phone event on John O'Keefe's phone at 12:32:16 in the form of steps taken, 36 steps over the course of 83 feet, would that change your analysis or opinion in any way? Objection.
I'll allow that in that form.
Yes.
In what way?
If the phone event moves from 12:32:09 to 12:32:16, then of the 30 possibilities I had in the chart, all of them would become positive. That would mean that that interaction occurs after the end of the vehicle event every single time. Instead of, it was 25 for 30 in the original analysis, the hypothetical would change it to 30 for 30.
All of them, all 30 of them, would occur at a point in time when it occurs that all of them would reflect a scenario in which the phone interaction took place after the trigger event.
That's correct.
Dr. Elizabeth Lapisoda, a forensic pathologist, a professor of medicine at Brown University, aka Karen Read hired her own medical examiner. In fact, she was the chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island from 1993 to 2005. I have found a ton of old photos from her from previous trials, and can I just say, this woman is not afraid to get her hands dirty to help jury members understand what exactly went on in that body. She's another one you guys are gonna want to watch. I can guarantee she will be most likely everyone's top 5 testimonies of the entire trial. She's that good. But also another boss, Dr. Marie Russell.
I'm not so sure I understand what you mean by standard then, because I know how I evaluate wounds.
You have personal experience where you've treated dog wounds and you look at it and you're simply deciding whether or not to you this looks similar. You're giving your personal aside, aren't you?
I actually find that offensive.
Oh, okay. Well, is that what you're doing?
No.
You were here for that voir dire. You already know what I'm gonna say. I ride or die for Dr. Russell. She is uniquely qualified in that she started her career as an officer, became a trauma doctor in one of the busiest hospitals in Los Angeles. She also was a coroner. You want to talk about the perfect person to not only talk about basic policing 101, someone that has seen bodies not only from crime scenes to the hospital, into the morgue, but also someone that just has a shit ton of real life experience. Dr. Marie Russell is the one. And there's a reason why Hank Brennan desperately did not want her to testify. Not only is she going to steal your hearts if you don't know who she is yet, but you're going to love her testimony as well. Just to knock them out of the park, Garrett Wang. I first heard of Garrett Wang from Melanie Little on YouTube. She actually interviewed him. He also has a TikTok account where he talks about dog training, because not only did Garrett Wang grow up around military and police dogs, he also trained them and worked with them as well as an officer, and now does that for his living.
All right, so we're using Mr. Steve Sprouse, famous Armin Lagan products. Now we gotta hide because we're bad guys. All right, here we go. Hey, mother! Good! You good! Get off me! Good job! Good job! All right, try that OUT. Ouse. Good boy. That's good, man. Nice and intense, right? That was great.
Another uniquely qualified example of someone that has extensive experience in multiple arenas that is perfect to prove that Karen Read did not kill John O'Keefe. At this point, Karen Read wouldn't even need civilian witnesses, because just her expert witnesses can prove,
I did not drive my car into John, didn't reverse it, did not hit John with my car.
I did not kill John O'Keefe.